Welcome to the Two Beans in a Pod. Today we're diving deep into a listener's request. To understand Victor Davis Hanson's perspective on Donald Trump's tariffs against globalism and his view of the future world order.
Interesting.
Our sources for this deep dive include excerpts from Hanson's book, The Case for Trump, and a YouTube video from his channel titled Trump's Tariffs and the Great Depression.
Got it.
So, our mission is to unpack Hanson's arguments, understand his reasoning, and explore his vision of the world in light of these policies, providing you, our listener, with a clear and insightful overview. Right off the bat, Hanson kind of throws down the gauntlet with a pretty harsh critique of the pre-Trump global order, especially when it comes to economics. What does he see as the core problems with that established order?
Well, so Hanson argues that this long-standing idea, this thing that's been around since World War II, that the U.S. should accept some economic disadvantage to help other nations develop, has basically solidified into a system that no longer serves American interests. He really takes aim at the assumption that economic growth in countries like Vietnam and China would naturally lead to, the adoption of Western-style free market capitalism, and more importantly, democratic political systems. He's quite firm on this point. He says he's seen zero proof to support that idea.
Wow. So he's basically rejecting the notion that economic engagement inevitably fosters political change in the direction of democracy. What leads him to this conclusion?
His analysis of China is central to this.
Okay.
He contends that despite receiving numerous economic benefits through trade and investment, China has consistently engaged in practices that undermine free markets.
So like
rigging markets, dumping products, manipulating its currency, and engaging in widespread intellectual property theft.
Yeah, I mean, those are some serious accusations.
Absolutely. He uses the term Napoleonic mercantilism.
Napoleonic mercantilism.
To describe China's economic approach, suggesting a state-controlled system focused on national power accumulation rather than genuine free market principles.
Interesting.
The events at Tiananmen Square, he argues, serve as a stark reminder that economic affluence does not automatically equate to political liberalization.
Napoleonic mercantilism. That's an interesting term.
It is.
It evokes a sense of aggressive, state-driven economic expansion. So, as Hanson sees it, the expected trade-off. American economic concessions leading to both economic development and political reform in these nations simply hasn't materialized.
It hasn't.
What are some of the broader consequences of this global economic structure that Hanson points to?
He highlights the significant military buildup in China, which he believes has been facilitated by its economic growth within this globalized system, bringing its military capabilities close to parity with the United States.
I see.
He also notes that Vietnam remains a communist state, despite its economic engagement with the West. Furthermore, he expresses skepticism about the purported benefits for other nations, citing Mexico's substantial trade surplus with the U.S., $177 billion, as he mentions, while pointing to the persistent issues of cartels and corruption within the country.
So it sounds like he sees a pattern where the economic benefits of globalization haven't necessarily translated into the anticipated political or social improvements in these countries. And he also focuses on the impact here at home, particularly on American workers, doesn't he?
He does. Hanson emphasizes the argument that was often made to American workers, particularly in manufacturing-heavy states like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan.
Or a spelt.
Yeah. That their jobs were overpriced and that outsourcing production would lead to greater overall economic efficiency. However, he points out a crucial hypocrisy. Those who promoted this idea were rarely the ones who experienced the negative consequences of these policies, the job losses, and economic hardship.
That really underscores the human cost.
It does.
That Hanson believes was overlooked in the pursuit of global economic integration. He also brings in his own experiences to illustrate this point, if I recall.
He does. As a farmer, Hanson witnessed firsthand the volatility and potential devastation of global markets. He provides a stark example of raisin prices plummeting from $1,420 to $440 in just 12 months, demonstrating the tangible and often brutal impact of these global economic shifts on American livelihoods. This personal experience lends significant weight to his broader critique.
So, having established Hanson's pretty critical view of the pre-Trump global order, let's turn to how he interprets Trump's tariffs. He sees them as a direct response to and rejection of this globalism, correct?
Absolutely. Hanson views Trump's tariffs as a fundamental challenge to what he considers the unquestionable assumptions of the global status quo. He emphasizes that Trump dared to question these long-held assumptions, both those promoted by allies and those that facilitated the rise of adversaries.
And this aligns with Trump's broader America First philosophy, according to Hansen.
Yes. Hansen argues that Trump saw various transnational bodies and agreements.
Okay.
Those using terms like accord, association, organization, partnership, or union as inherently globalist constructs that were detrimental to American interests and particularly unfair to voters in key swing states. In Hansen's interpretation, Trump's America First approach prioritized the needs of America's own less affluent population over the interests of other nations.
It's a perspective that clearly prioritizes national sovereignty and economic self-interest.
It does.
Over international cooperation and interdependence. Now, Hansen also offers a particular view of the economic climate during Trump's early years in office. What's his assessment?
Hansen contends that during the first 600 days of Trump's presidency, the United States economy experienced a significant upswing, firming better than at any point in a preceding decade.
And what factors does he believe contributed to this economic improvement?
He attributes this synergistic economic upswing to a combination of policy decisions, including massive deregulation, stepped-up energy production tax cuts, increased border enforcement, and talking up the American brand. He points to indicators like GDP growth, a strong stock market, and historically low unemployment rates as evidence supporting his claim of economic success during that period.
It's interesting how Hansen directly links these specific policies to the positive economic outcomes he observes.
He does.
Now, let's discuss Trump's stance on specific international agreements. Hansen makes it clear that Trump held many of these in low regard.
He did. Indeed, Hansen states that Trump viewed agreements such as the European Union NAFTA, the Paris Climate Accord, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and the UN with considerable skepticism, considering them further examples of the problematic globalist constructs he opposed.
And his criticisms of these agreements were quite pointed, weren't they?
They were, absolutely. Trump frequently criticized what he referred to as dumb deals made by previous administrations, arguing that these agreements allowed foreign countries to take advantage of the United States, enriching themselves at the expense of American industry and the American workforce. Hansen even quotes a powerful line from Trump's inaugural address.
Go on.
For many decades, we've enriched foreign industry at the expense of American industry. The wealth of our middle class has been ripped from their homes and then redistributed across the entire world.
That quote really encapsulates the core of Trump's, and by extension, Hansen's, interpretation of these international agreements, a sense of unfairness, and the prioritization of foreign interests over domestic ones.
Absolutely. What's notable is how consistently Hansen frames Trump's actions and rhetoric through this lens of rejecting a globalist system that he believes has put the United States at a disadvantage for far too long.
Before we move on to what Hansen's analysis implies about the future world order, if you're finding this deep dive into Victor Davis Hansen's perspective insightful, please take a moment to hit the like button and subscribe for more in-depth analyses like this. Now, considering his strong critique of globalism and his support for Trump's policies, what kind of future world order does Hansen seem to envision?
Hansen's perspective strongly suggests a future where individual nations prioritize their own national interests and economic security above participation in overarching globalist structures and agreements.
So every nation for itself.
In a way, yes. He expresses a fundamental skepticism towards the idea that deep global economic integration will inevitably lead to positive political outcomes, particularly the spread of democracy, across all participating nations.
I see.
His support for Trump's tariffs indicates a belief in the necessity of protecting domestic industries and jobs from what he perceives as unfair global competition.
So it's a vision that leans heavily towards national self-reliance and a potentially more competitive international landscape.
Precisely. The emphasis on America First implies a desire for the United States to reassert its economic and potentially political dominance. By challenging and renegotiating existing international arrangements, Hansen's analysis doesn't paint a picture of increasing global cooperation, but rather one where individual nations are more focused on their own well-being and security, in a world where competition is a more defining characteristic than collaboration within established global frameworks. It's a future where the perceived benefits of economic activity are primarily directed towards the domestic population of each nation.
It's a significant departure
Mm-hmm.
from the prevailing post-World War II consensus around the benefits of global integration and multilateralism. Hanson's perspective, as you've laid out, suggests his deliberate shift towards a more nationalistic orientation in international affairs.
Exactly. His analysis through the prism of Trump's policies suggests a potential recalibration of the global order, one where the primary focus is on the strength and prosperity of individual nations, with the United States leading the way in prioritizing its own interests.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener? Hanson's analysis presents a compelling, though certainly debatable, argument against the prevailing assumptions of globalism, positioning Trump's tariffs as a necessary corrective action. His implied vision of the future suggests a more nationalistic world order, where individual nations prioritize their own economic security and where the benefits of economic activity are primarily directed inwards. It raises an important question for you to consider. Does Hanson's critique of globalism resonate with your understanding of current events? And what do you see as the potential long-term consequences of a global shift towards more protectionist and nationalist policies?
It's a really crucial question that we all need to grapple with.
If you've been pondering these questions along with us, please hit the like button and be sure to subscribe for more deep dives into complex issues.
This exploration of Victor Davis Hanson's perspective offers a valuable insight into a significant critique of globalism and a particular understanding of the motivations behind policies, like Donald Trump's tariffs. His arguments, rooted in his analysis of economic trends and political outcomes, provide a distinct framework for understanding a potential shift towards a more nationally focused world order.
Thank you for listening to Two Beans in a Pod. If you are interested in the book, please order it from the link below.